I know I'll get a flood of comments asking this question, and I appreciate that. But I started thinking back to the Bad Batch Season 1, when they first met Sid, and I asked myself, why was Sid so eager to help the Bad Batch? And the answer made the Bad Batch Season 2 much more interesting. Now, there are obvious answers that can explain it all away, but we have to really look into the character of Sid. Her chosen lifestyle, her profession, and even her race could play a key part in this. And while looking for the answer for this, I found some interesting clues. And if you know me, I haven't been a fan of the character of Sid in the Bad Batch since the beginning. Not that Rhea Perlman is doing a bad job, I just thought it wasn't a good fit. Until now. You see, I may put out initial reactions to different episodes or Star Wars shows, but some of those may be more negative than I like them to be when it comes to my favorite franchise. Then I go back and analyze the big picture and try to find out why I was so harsh or try to find some kind of positivity about it. Well, with Sid, I think I found it. Don't worry, I still think she's like a diner waitress who has been smoking for 50 years. Would you like some coffee with that, honey? Yes, Craig, I would, and thank you. Like I said, my opinion about Sid is slowly changing throughout the Bad Batch Season 2. I made a video a few days ago about how Sid may have orchestrated the Marauder being stolen from the Bad Batch. I got some interesting comments on it, ranging from Sid is trying to protect the Bad Batch to it may have been Boba Fett stealing the ship. Marooning Clone Force 99 on the mining planet. I'm really enjoying those comments, so let's see what you all have to say about this one. Before I go on with Sid being so eager to help the Bad Batch in the beginning, a quick word from our sponsor, me. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. I'm on a quest to hit 50,000 subscribers, and I'd like you all to be a part of that journey. I know you hear that from every other YouTube channel, and it gets boring, but hey, this is freaking Star Wars, baby. Who doesn't love Star Wars? And I promise to give you the best Star Wars has to offer in a positive way for as long as I make videos. In other words, I keeps it real. With that said, let's move on with today's topic. As with my last video, I think this insight into Sid will not only make her character more interesting, but also the Bad Batch Season 2 as a whole. While we all want to see the transition from clone troopers to stormtroopers, I think it will fall in line and become more prominent when we get a full grasp on who or what Sid is in the Bad Batch. But let's get on with it. While on the run from the Empire, the Bad Batch head to Ord Mantell. Echo knows of an informant who may be able to help them identify the bounty hunter sent to capture Omega, Fennec Shand. When asked if they could trust Sid, Echo responds that the Jedi trusted him. The team was assuming Sid was a male. When arriving at Sid's little house of ill will, Sid plays coy and pretends to not know who they're talking about. With little effort, Omega tells the Trandoshan, "You're Sid." Seriously, I don't know how some fans don't see Omega as force sensitive, but whatever. Anyways, Sid agrees that it is in fact her, and not a male. The Bad Batch then asks Sid to help identify the bounty hunter. She responds that she doesn't know who the person is, but that she would be inclined to find out if they would help her with a little task. The task is to rescue Moochie, the Rancor from Zygerian slave traders. Of course, they don't know Moochie is a Rancor yet, but the Bad Batch accepts and they're all successful. Yay! Thus beginning their mercenary relationship with the shady Trandoshan, and it seems everything is mutually beneficial. But is it really? Let's go back and listen to what's actually said during their first interaction with Sid. When Sid confirms her identity, she goes on to say the Jedi valued her insight, but now they are all dead. The demand for her services has declined, thanks to the new Empire. This is key to something I said in my last video about Sid betraying the Bad Batch when they were at the mine that she purchased. I know it seems too obvious that Sid would turn on the Bad Batch for money. Yeah. Too obvious. Maybe it is too obvious, but let's look at what she said and how that can affect how she treats Hunter and crew. Sid is an entrepreneur of sorts, opportunistic and emotionless to her endeavors. There's a reason they made this Trandoshan speak unlike others of her species. We are supposed to feel something off about her character. All Trandoshans we have seen so far speak with a certain uniformity, drawing out their S's and speaking in a low tone, soft and creepy. Had they made Sid the same way, we would know she isn't to be trusted right away. As if we already don't, I guess. But for the sake of this topic, let's assume it's too obvious that she is shady. Hence the reason she doesn't sound or look like other Trandoshans. We're supposed to feel like she isn't like the others, or at least question it. The Jedi valued her insight, meaning they paid handsomely for it. She thrived under the Jedi, but now the Empire has cut ties and she's struggling, much like Hondo Ohnaka struggled after the Clone Wars. And what did he do? He betrayed Ezra Bridger for profit to get back on top. This is also the reason they didn't use Hondo Ohnaka instead of Sid. We know Hondo's agenda and what he will do for profit. But the truth of Sid in this first conversation, the Empire isn't as keen on using her. But would she like them to be? Would Sid like to be trusted and form it to the Empire? Well, she already is. Sid already knows the Bad Batch are deserters. She says it, so she knows a deserted clone when she sees one, not just by her words, but look at her wall. There's a clone helmet, likely the helmet of a clone deserter. She has done it before. This isn't just some random object laying around, it's a trophy in her back room, along with the Mandalorian helmet. With the Jedi gone, the Empire would know of most informants that helped the Jedi during the Clone Wars. When the Empire took over, they would have contacted these informants and offered them a deal. Keep your ears out for Jedi remnants and clone deserters, and maybe sometimes we'll turn the other cheek. Sid had been setting up her betrayal of the clones from the beginning. Let's look at it in our own world. When an informant goes undercover, what's the first objective? Gain the trust of those they're looking to bring down. Now, it would have been quicker if Sid had the Empire waiting for the Bad Batch when they retrieved Muchi, but the mission was a success, and Sid profited from it. The Bad Batch is useful to her as long as they make her money, and in Season 1, they did just that. But there's always the thought in the back of her mind that as soon as the Bad Batch stops being profitable, she will make her money off them another way. Handing the Bad Batch over to the Empire and being thanked for her loyal service to the Empire, thus putting her in higher graces of the new regime and extending the life of her illegal ventures. But is the betrayal of the Bad Batch enough to get the Empire to be thankful enough to utilize Sid more? Not necessarily, but there is one key piece to the Bad Batch that the Empire will be highly interested in: Omega. Sid recognizes right away that there is something special about the child. Sid even says the kid must be the brains of the outfit. And this makes Sid realize that to get to the Bad Batch and get them to trust her, she has to go through Omega. That Omega will talk them into doing almost anything Sid needs. So Sid trains Omega to a certain extent, mentors her, gains her trust, and it works. Proof, you ask? Well, let's go to the Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 4, titled Faster. When Grinny Malegi tries to warn the Bad Batch that Sid's loyalty doesn't always go both ways, it's Omega who gives him a stern look, a look of distrust toward Malegi. Then, she is the first to turn and walk away from Malegi and exit the room. Instead of putting doubt in her mind about Sid, she dismisses his claim. If she did take his caution to heart, Omega would have had a conversation about it and tried to warn the others that maybe he was right. Now, whether Sid regrets her actions of turning the Bad Batch in remains to be seen. It also remains to be seen if she is even successful at it. The next episode is titled Extraction, and that can mean many things. So in the beginning, I asked why Sid was so eager to help the Bad Batch in the beginning. My answer is that Sid sees it as an opportunity to bring her criminal organization back to the top by selling them out, once the Bad Batch have outlived their usefulness. And in Season 2, they have done just that with failure after failure. But what do you think? Keep in mind that this is animation. With the clone helmet, every glance and word spoken, it is put in there intentionally. This wasn't left to an actor or prop department to interpret how the scene should go. It's all intentionally orchestrated, drawn out by hand. Well, by computer, really. I just wonder why the Bad Batch didn't question her when seeing the clone helmet and Mandalorian helmet on the wall. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And if you haven't seen the other video, I'll link it in the description below. Again, a word from our sponsor, me. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. I'm on a journey to hit 50,000 subscribers, and I'd like you all to be a part of the next phase of this channel. Until the next video, this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, signing off, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. Thank you all for watching, and remember, this is the way, and positivity in the Star Wars fandom is the only way.